soldiers. They are very well-equipped combatants, trained through several exercises, and with the right level of teamwork can conquer many different foes. Allow me to introduce to you a list of other apex creatures that dominate the fishing world. These particular animals and subspecies of the water and ocean, and even land, have evolved special abilities that allow them to conquer the ocean around them, gather food, and dominate the land. However, despite how large a sea creature may be, or how versatile the underwater kit, the difference between them and humans is a set of augments. They have certain attunements, if you will, that give them the edge in their particular environment. Well, what if I told you that humans can gain augments too? And not just any augments, but special little ones that go on your fishing rod, so you don't need to leap into action to catch these fish. Instead, you can catch massive creatures in the land of Minecraft with the simple attunement of a few augments. This section is about the pyro fishing augments. Let's get started.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pyro, and today I'm going to go over fish augments. This is actually the last fishing section that I would need to go over, and by the end of this video would also symbolize the completion of everything that is pyro fishing in terms of general knowledge. To begin with, you would need to do /fish augment. Now there's two sections to the fish augments. There's the Augmenter section, which is the command /fish augment, and if you click on the book, you can actually get to this section via shortcut with /fish augments. As you can see, with each one of these small orbs in the fish augments, these are augments that boost essentially your fishing skills and abilities. But before we touch base with what each augment does, we're going to go over the first page, the Augmenter, first. So within the fish Augmenter, you'll find basically the augment help. This will give you a small rundown of how to create augments, which I will also show an example of on the video. It will also show you how much entropy balance you currently hold on to, and what your current fishing level is, which is important because you need to have that correspond with or match the actual augment that you want to make. You need to be the same level or above that augment level necessary to get the job done. And you also need to have the entropy to get the actual augment made. The first book mentions basically a section of where you would place your fishing rod. So for example, this would be my fishing rod. The second section is the augment itself. If you have an augment that you wish to place onto the fishing rod, you would place it in this section, and then you would basically click confirm or cancel depending on whether you want to put that augment on your fishing rod, or if you would like to cancel the idea of that after you've already placed the item, thus returning or giving you the ability to keep the augment and fishing rod separate. The next section here is withdraw 10,000 entropy. So this allows you to basically pull out entropy crystals, 10,000 entropy at a time, with the intent of either providing it to another individual or with the intent of potentially selling or using in other manners. This is more of a personal trade item. You do not need the physical crystal to do anything pyro fishing related other than absorb the entropy by right-clicking it, the crystal in your hand. An example of this, as I clicked, I withdrew 10,000 entropy. I now have the crystal. If you put it in your hand and you right-click, you redeem the entropy, thus getting you the entropy back and getting it back into what your original balance was. This is just a back section, just lets you go back into the main menu. And we have remove augments. If I would like to, I can place my fishing rod inside of the Augmenter section. And if I click on remove augments, I spend 25,000 entropy. And it does give you a, are you sure, in terms of this, as they want you to be very careful that you're understanding the actions you're about to do. This does not destroy your fishing rod. There is no risk to this, which means that if you had a weaker fishing rod, and you already started building Augment, but you got your hands on a better fishing rod on the server, this would be a valuable opportunity and chance for you to put those augments from one fishing rod onto the other. Now, moving forward, as I click on Augment Help, we now have the section filled with augments itself. The first augment is Hotspot. It has a required fishing level of 10, entropy cost of 50,000. You can level this augment up 13 times on your fishing rod, and it gives you a chance to potentially catch an extra fish from a single hole. So this is essentially a very common one that a lot of people will start with. It's highly recommended as it essentially allows you to double the fish that you catch in terms of special fish. The second augment is called Call of the Storm. This requires a fish level of 12, entropy cost of 40,000 per, and has 5 levels max for the augment, and can be used on a fishing rod. All of these will be used on a fishing rod, and essentially it just gives you a higher chance of catching essentially more fish while it's raining. A very helpful augment, and one that I usually don't recommend you get until you have gotten other augments that help you gather parts and pieces. Saturate, which requires a fishing level of 12, entropy cost of 35,000, and can go up 5 levels to the max. It will give you a random chance of refilling your hunger. This is the fishing augment that essentially keeps you fed. If you could make this, it is pretty cheap in terms of material cost. The entropy cost is a little up there, but I would highly recommend making and maxing that out. The next section will be Sage. So it has a max level cap of 12, an entropy cost of 57,500, and my apologies on the previous comment, it is a max augment level of 10. You'd need to be level 12 to use it, and the way it works is it allows you to gain more fishing XP towards the plugin whenever you catch a fish. And the higher the augment level, the more the XP. So this is boosting the Pyro fishing skill set or skill tree and allowing you to level that up faster. Sage is great for that purpose. Biome Disruptor requires you to be a level 16 fisherman in terms of fish level. Entropy cost of 60,000 per. You can only get this maxed to level 3, and it gives you a chance to catch random fish from other biomes when fishing higher level augments. So this one is excellent for if you do not want to travel to other biomes to collect a wide variety of fish. You can add this augment on, and it would be very helpful in allowing you to catch random fish. The problem with this, though, is because this does grant you random fish, and it does this from time to time, you will run into a situation where if you're trying to fish up specific fish only, you might have a harder time getting that specific fish if this augment is attached to your fishing rod. That is actually the reason why I also carry a second fishing rod that does not have any augments or is limited on augments. So that way, the fishing rod that I do have that does have Biome Disruptor would essentially, be a item that I shelve away, and if I'm hunting for regular fish, I just use the other fishing rod and fish in the correct biome. The next fish augment is Precision Cutting. Requires you to be a fishing level of 22, so this is where you're entering mid-tier in terms of your fishing. It has an entropy cost of 70,000, a max augment level of level 8, and it gives you more entropy from gutting fish. The way this one works, and this actually is quite essential for the main build of fish augments, as you've noticed, the cost of fish augments has been in the thousands, the tens of thousands. So in order to help get that done, what you do essentially is you can grab some fish, do /fish guts, And when you put the fish into the gutting station, when I gut for the fish, and what I really want to do is make sure that I am actually holding onto the fishing rod, because mine has the precision cutting in it. When I escape the menu, when I click gut for entropy, it gives you bonus entropy, as you see on the chat section below. That is going to be essential for you building up entropy in terms of allowing you the opportunity to build up more augments in the future. The next augment is crab bait, an extremely useful one. It requires you to be level 25 in the fishing levels, an entropy cost of 40,000 per. You can only get this up 5 levels, and it just gives you a higher chance to simply catch crabs while fishing. This is extremely useful due to the fact that a lot of augments require you to collect crab tails and collect a wide variety of items. So with that being said, this is something that once you get to this level, you definitely would like to grind out, and you want to make sure that if you are using this augment on your fishing rod, that you enable mobs to spawn in the plot that you're in. Many times I see people keep mobs disabled instead of enabled, resulting in a loss of crab opportunity. The next one, Intellect, requires a fishing level of 25, an entropy cost of 50,000. You have a max augment level of 10, and it gives you just more general XP for catching fish. And this is essentially what heals your fishing rod if you have mending on it, and allows you to heal other mending tools if you hold it in your offhand and fish with this particular fishing rod, which is great. Very expensive in terms of supplies and cost of entropy, but if you can afford it and you've done other augments first, it is worthwhile. Perception requires a fishing level of 28, entropy cost of 75,000, and can be upgraded 7 levels, which is the max, and it gives you more entropy for catching custom fish. This is a very common one that people may get their hands on, and that allows you to boost essentially catching, or basically gaining more entropy with each fish caught, as the description had essentially said. This is something that if you can boost up, it's highly recommended. If you don't really like to get your fish or things like that, this is an excellent way of making extra basically fish entropy, parts, and or just money in general. The next augment is Trophy. So this one, it requires a fishing level 35 and an entropy cost of 60,000. You can max out the augment level at level 6, and it allows you to add 1 level basically to your fishing rod, and gives you a higher chance to profit in fish scale. So the fish scales, as previously mentioned on another video, went over gambling, essentially using the fish weight in order to profit and basically push for profiting in that manner. In this case, this is something where, because this will boost that factor, this just simply boosts the amount of payout that you could potentially get. So you get a higher chance to profit off the scales, and it also bolsters your chances overall. Solar Rage adds a level to your fishing rod that essentially gives you more money as long as you hold this fishing rod in your hand as you sell in the /fish shop. It requires a fishing level of level 35. It has an entropy cost of 75,000. It could be leveled up 5 times before it hits the max, and this one, I have to point out, is pretty expensive. You would have to be pretty deep into fishing to have gotten this far and wanting this particular augment. So I would say it's not bad. It's one of those augments that I would collect after you get the basics and the essentials done, to ensure that you don't ever hurt yourself just trying to do the job. The last fish augment is Master Fisherman. This adds the ability to catch higher tier fish, and it boosts your chances for each level of Master Fisherman you own. It requires you to be level 45 in fishing, and it has an entropy cost of 120,000, and you can do this and make this augment 20 times and max out its level at level 20. Now, this augment, without, any real hesitation, I always point out, is the last augment everyone typically gets to build or wants to build in terms of their fishing rod. It is a very expensive and very difficult augment to get your hands on. If a person is selling it for money, you want to buy it for pretty much whatever you can get your hands on. The more levels of master fishing or master fisherman that you have, the more likely you are to get platinum fish and mythical fish. And as explained on previous videos, not only do they have a very high cost to them, but they could be used to boost your personal fishing totem and make you that much better at fishing at the time period. With that being said, the next section that we will kind of go over here is how to create a actual augment. Alright, now that we've gathered our items, so we've got 16 cooked beef, 1 cake, 12 baked potatoes, and 16 cod. So, the way augments work, in order to build them, you need a fishing rod, you need a cauldron. It doesn't necessarily have to be on fire, nor does it even need to be filled with water, but mine happens to be filled like that. Throw the items out of your inventory into the cauldron, hit it with left click on the cauldron, and it drops this firework item that I am now holding in my hand. Saturate. Now that I do have that, I can take that augment, go back into the fish augmenter, or the fish augment section, put my fishing rod there, put the saturate there, click on confirm, and now I have saturate on my fishing rod. I now have a chance to allow my character to get fed with a fishing rod overall. Now, with that being said, I hope that the information I've provided you is useful, and I just hope you have an excellent day. If there was anything else that you would like me to cover in terms of fishing, or the Pyro fishing mod overall, I'd be delighted to go over it. Feel free to leave any general questions in the comments below, and I'd like to help answer that to the best of my ability. Thank you again for your time, and for choosing my video to help educate you about this. If you liked what you saw, feel free to subscribe. I do plan on adding additional and different types of content going forward. Thank you.